I'm Emma, and this is the After Sessions, and I'm here with Susie B. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, thank you.
You had a totally nightmare journey getting here.
I did.
I'm really sorry about that.
Casually sharing the carriage with a criminal.
A self-confessed criminal, I
A
think.
self-confessed ex-murderer and thief who wanted me to play my guitar to the whole tube carriage.
But you're here now, and
I
that's
live
the
to
main
tell
thing.
the tale, yeah exactly.
So, how did the music thing start for you?
Gosh, I can't even remember. I think probably from the age of about 15 was when I started kind of writing, making stuff up on piano. And I used to sing with a little kind of three girls. My friend Kate played guitar, and we used to sing as a kind of trio. And then at the
So
age
you're a piano player too?
yeah, and also a tiny bit of violin.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't pick a guitar up until I was 17, and I kind of thought, actually, I want to have a go at kind of writing my own stuff and seeing how that goes.
So until that point, had you only ever played other people's stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I think when I was 14, I was, bit of into the cause. All the really uncool stuff. And then I kind of developed my own style, and kind of from the age of 17, I've been writing my own stuff. And sort of, I've done lots of projects with other people as well, but I've kind of carried on writing my own stuff just under my own name.
Because you went to a songwriting college, didn't you?
Well, I did. I did drama and theatre arts at Birmingham Uni, and then I did a master's in creative producing, which is where I started to kind of begin to produce myself as an artist and learn to sort of do it more as a kind of business in a way. But I've done kind of songwriting courses as well.
So with regards to the songwriting, do you think it's something that people are just born with the flair of, or is there a knack to it?
I think you can I think there's an element of being able to learn the craft. Like, I personally have just done it through, I don't have a process. My process is more that I read something, or something happens to me, or something happens to someone I know, and then I kind of write that down as a story, and then I'll be playing my guitar, and if I come up with a melody, I'll kind of put the two together. But I think there's definitely, in terms of writing hits, there probably is more of a process in terms of, how long it should be and when the chorus comes in and all that stuff, whereas I'm a bit more kind of freestyle, I guess.
Okay.
But, yeah.
It's more organic that way. It's good.
It's organic, yeah.
So I was having a gander online, and one of the things it says about you online is that you're left-handed.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
One of those. They're
One
the
of
best
those
kind. I'm one of those
weirdos.
too. How does that work with the guitar?
So I still play. I had to think about that. No, I play it right-handed. So
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know if that's nature versus nurture. Maybe I'm a bit ambidextrous. I write left-handed. I eat left-handed, but then I play instruments right-handed, which is a bit weird. So, but yeah, my theory is that it makes me more creative, but maybe that's just because I like the sound of it.
What, being a lefty?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a lefty too, so you're fine.
Yeah.
That's all good.
I like meeting left-handed friends. We've got to stick together.
Absolutely. So in terms of inspiring you to write music, what is it that makes you think of an idea? Is it just various things in life, or...?
Yeah, lots of different things. I think early stages, when I started writing I was sort of about 17, I think it was probably all kind of personal stuff and kind of just growing up. But then I like now kind of exploring other kind of... So I wrote a song a few months ago called What is the What? Which was based on a book about a Sudanese refugee who manages to escape Sudan and ends up living in America, and has this amazing story. And then with everything going on at the moment, I just felt really inspired to write from, not necessarily from the perspective of the character in the book, but just in terms of, what it would be like to leave where you came from. And so trying to write outside of myself as well, and kind of, so now it might just be that I read a book, or I hear something, or something happens to someone I know, and it's kind of, taking inspiration from different places and kind of the world around me as well.
That takes me really nicely to my next question, actually.
Glad to help.
Which is about your working with the Refugees UK.
Oh, yeah.
And your awesome show. Weirdly, I've actually been following the whole story behind that on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I know that they've been putting vans together to kind of get lots of tents donated and food donated to be able to take over to Calais and be able to help people who are in times of need. You actually went and did some sessions with Calais, right?
Yeah, it was through an amazing charity that was set up by Vanessa Lucas-Smith called the Calais Sessions. And so Ness is a professional cellist, and she's kind of behind it all, and she takes musicians from the UK to the camp in Calais to perform and also to work with musicians in the camp and then record sessions with the musicians in the camp. So it's all online, called the Calais Sessions, and they're putting an album together at the moment. I think they've just released their first single.
Wow.
But the idea is to record an album, and then the proceeds will go back to the musicians that were involved in the camp. But yeah, I went for a weekend, and it was such an amazing experience, and just like met some amazing people with really inspirational and quite, really sad stories. But I was, having not had guitar lessons myself, I was given the task of doing some guitar workshops and teaching some basic kind of G, C, D chords. And actually found that a lot of them were very talented guitarists that started to ask me questions beyond my capabilities. And so just take my guitar and just go for it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So apart from the obvious in terms of like being able to record an album, raise some money that will go to a really good cause, how else do you think, we were talking about this earlier, how else do you think that music can help them in that way?
I think for a lot of them, they said it's kind of, it's what unites them, and there's nothing, it's kind of part of their identity, and it's a way of kind of feeling human. And there's not really any, Ness trying to get more and more instruments out there so that they can just have them to kind of to play on and learn. But yeah, I think it's just part of being human and expressing yourself. And just, we had a kind of jamming session where we had some members of the band Molotov Jukebox playing, and they did some kind of gypsy folk, and the whole room of all the guys, they just started dancing as if they're in a nightclub, because they just haven't had that kind of sociable aspect of having just like something that we take really for granted, which is just having music and like entertainment. And yeah.
Hold my hand, let the world stop spinning. London is a roller coaster, and my life got turned upside down. And I have given my all to London, changed in more ways than one. Stop being afraid of who I am, and started being me. And I've made mistakes along the way, fallen into arms of strangers. But London, you always save me, and show me there is so much more. So much more to see, so much more to learn, so much more to give. If the world could just stop spinning, you could stand here next to me. London came to rescue me, and I found my path to you, and you helped me to full of danger, a city full of strength. 'Cause there's no place like London, no place right now I'd rather be. And I may not stay here forever, but for now, just let me be. If the world could just stop spinning and the city switch off its lights, and people just stop for a moment's breath and stand here next to me, standing watching the world go by, stand here next to me.
The Alpha Sessions.
We were talking before about the live music scene, and how because of the way the music industry is going at the moment, people are having to be more creative in the way they promote themselves and the way they put gigs on and the way they, I guess, promote themselves. You've done loads of really fun live stuff for loads of really good causes.
Yeah.
It was Peter Jones last week.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Anything from like shooting lodges to yeah, I play anywhere and everywhere. Yeah, that was kind of slightly terrifying.
How did that
getting
come about,
into kind of? Well, I have a friend that works for the charity, and they were looking for an artist to come and perform, and she was like, "Oh, I have a friend." And at first, I was doing kind of corporate stuff that kind of formal gig is something that I'm quite new to. So at first I was a bit sort of like, ooh. But then I'm also very like, say yes to every challenge that comes along. And it was a really good experience. It was lots of the Dragon's Den sort of people that were on that show were there.
Was that a bit nerve-wracking? Did you kind of wait for them to go, I'm out?
Yeah, yeah. You were the weak. Oh no, not you. The weakest link. That's totally another program. Yeah, it was. But then it also kind of made me up my game. And I think originally I was going to play for an hour. And they ended up playing for 2. And I was sort of playing during the drinks reception and then during the big lunch that they had.
What was it for?
It was to raise money for the Peter Jones Foundation. And they give lots of bursaries to young entrepreneurs.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, really good cause, a really successful day. But yeah, I was really, and I kind of met Peter Jones, who kindly said he'd pass on my tape to Simon Cowell. I'll follow that up. I'll have to follow that one up. I wouldn't be surprised.
And what's Peter Jones like?
He was certainly very charming and very complimentary, and obviously incredibly good at what he does. And from the sheer volume of very successful people all in one room, obviously has lots of friends in high places. So yeah.
How do you choose the gigs that you do? If you get an offer to play for a charity, if you like, do you have to be a big supporter of that charity, or is it very much like yes to everything?
I guess it depends on like capacity, but yeah, mostly that. I don't think I've said no to anything yet, but obviously if I feel like an affinity with that cause, I'm more likely to do it. I guess the main gigs that I tend not to do are perhaps if I don't sort of agree with the ethos of the promoters. Yeah. And I think in London that's something you have to be really careful about, because I'm self-produced and self-funded, so a lot of it I'm just doing kind of, I'm doing all the promoting myself, and I think there's quite a few promoters in London that want you to do all the work and they'll take all the money, so that's, you kind of have to be, and it's getting to that point of confidence as well when you know that you can say no to certain gigs, because I think certainly when I first moved to London, I wanted to do every gig that was offered to me, and then you realise which are the good promoters, the ones that really want to promote new music and the ones that just want for you to do all the work and then take all the money.
I think that's such a shame.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
It is a shame because, you know, I think most musicians now do it for the love of playing live music, and, you know, it's quite hard to make money as a musician for a living. So you end up doing it because you want to do it and you want to get your music out there. And then, yeah, there's kind of different sides to the industry, I guess. But
Yeah. Do you have a favourite gig that you've ever done?
that I've ever played?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky question. My favourite gig. Oh, okay, this year, I guess, was at the Celtic Connections in Glasgow. Probably the furthest I've travelled for a gig. And, yeah, 350 people in the audience, and they were just the warmest audience I've ever met, and they were so encouraging of new music. And as soon as I stepped off stage, you know, they'll run over like, can we buy you a drink? And it was just such a nice experience that I'd definitely go and play in Glasgow again, not just for the free drinks.
I was going to say, is that because of the drinks? Or?
Yeah.
And when you play live more and more, obviously, like, you have experiences where you end up becoming your own worst critic, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
How do you get past that?
So I would say I'm a very nervy performer. Definitely have battled with nerves. And when I first moved to London, it kind of took me a while to get back into it and get that confidence. It's definitely practice, like, you know, keep regularly performing, because then it becomes a bit, not like autopilot as in you don't care, but, you know, muscle memory and everything starts to kick in, and the more comfortable you get around an audience, the less you kind of can feel the nerves. But it's very unpredictable. Like some gigs you can be totally fine, and then something will just throw you, and then, or for me generally it's playing a new song. It's getting a bit more confident, and my latest achievement was just learning to play the guitar standing up, because I always sit down because I feel much more rooted and now I'm trying to kind of bring a bit more of a performance element to the gigs, and so that's like my newest thing. It's a small things.
What's I know now that you've done a couple of larger ones as well, which ones do you think you get more nervous at, the more intimate ones or the larger ones?
Probably the more intimate ones, actually, because the larger ones you start to see less faces and you can kind of look above the crowd, and sometimes having that many people there encourages you. But when it's like a really for instance, on the tube today, when I was being asked to play the tube carriage, I was like, no, that's way too intimidating.
If we never say the things that we intended to say, nothing would be resolved. Don't put it off another day. I wait until the last minute and it's too late. My life is better with you in it. Why do I overcomplicate? I like you, that's all I needed to say. I like holding your hand, it's always better that way. So I tell you in haste, there's nothing to lose, and it would seem too much of a waste. I think I'm ready to fall again, to let myself get carried away. Time to take a risk and let you into my life. I find it hard to tell you all of this. I knew there was something that was amiss. mostly me. I never said how much meant to me. So I tell you in haste, there's nothing to lose, and it would seem too much of a waste. I think I'm ready to fall again.
The Alpha Sessions.
Let's talk about some of your recorded stuff then. You've done an EP.
Yeah, I've done 2 EPs, but one most recently was last year.
Okay, cool. And that was with Ian Wellman, right?
Yes, who has been my producer through time.
What's it like working with him?
Yeah, he's really lovely. And it was kind of a coincidence how we met, because I was working for a label in Birmingham at the time who were going to put me in touch with a producer they knew. And that same week, in the wonderful days of MySpace, he'd actually found me on MySpace and messaged me completely separately, saying, I like your stuff, seen that you work in Birmingham and Oxford, maybe we could collaborate. And when I met up with him, it turned out it was the same person they were going to put me in touch with. So it felt like it was meant to be. And yeah, really good to work with. And now that I've recorded probably like 10 or so songs, it's just a really nice kind of organic working relationship. So takes out that kind of scary element of going into a studio and, you know, playing your music for the first time to somebody new. So
do you find that when you go into the studio you've got an idea of what you want to come out of it, or is it kind of a trial thing and let's just see how this goes?
I try to, I mean, I definitely sometimes could have done more rehearsing in advance, but I always have the material that I know that I want to record, and I've got it to the standard that I will record. But then quite often what happens when I take it in to play to Ian, who has that kind of producing background and kind of songwriting experience, he'll bring different elements to it, or he'll be able to tell me, you know, that chorus can be a little bit shorter, or actually that verse could be there, and then we can add in some beats, and like that kind of producing element that I wouldn't necessarily see in my kind of folky kind of tunnel vision.
So it's kind of like a collaboration, I guess.
It is
like
a collaboration, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Awesome, because Ian's worked with some other fantastic names. I always think it's intriguing to know how it changes, because I've been a fan of his work for quite a while, and the way he does stuff is, I don't think you know it's him. Some producers, when they produce stuff, you can kind of tell their vibe on a lot of records, do you know what I mean? Whereas I think he's one of the few ones that, although you can tell there's a tint of it, it's not so recognisable that you think, oh yeah, it's one of his again. Do you know what I mean?
And he definitely knows what suits each individual artist. I remember saying, like, for instance, not to say that I never will, but I've never had a guitar lesson, which I guess lots of musicians haven't. And
so were you totally self-taught then?
Yeah, on guitar I am, yeah. Cool. So I probably couldn't even tell you what chords I'm playing on at the time. But and when I said to him previously, like, oh, you know, maybe I should just, you know, have a few lessons, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, because like, actually it's, you find things that you might not necessarily find, and you pick out chords that are quite unusual, because you are getting out from the guitar what you're kind of discovering. And in a way, if you're too taught on something, it can restrict your creativity with it. I mean, there's different ways of looking at it, but yeah, he's good at knowing what suits different artists, which is really interesting.
At the start of your music life, you worked with some other musicians as like a band. Would you ever do that on your own stuff? Or would you want to keep it solo?
Yes, I think I would definitely be up for having a band. The solo thing kind of, it makes it easy in terms of just being able to take gigs that come up, because I only have to check my own diary. But definitely, like, when I did my EP launch last year, I had my friend who came and played piano, and that really brought like another level to the music. I also started to do this night last year called Meet and Jam, where you kind of get up and play with a house band, and they're all, which randomly led to a gig at one point of me playing with Peter Andre's backing band. So yeah, that's my huge claim to fame.
Whereabouts was that?
Gosh, that was somewhere. It was like the furthest point on the Metropolitan line. It was in the middle of nowhere. It was like a function gig, but it was really fun to sing with like session musicians. And a few of them did say that if I started doing kind of bigger gigs, they'd be up for forming a band. So I think, yeah, if I started to get the bigger gigs, I think it would definitely bring kind of a bigger sound to it to kind of have a full band. So yeah, definitely, possibly. Definitely, possibly.
Cool. So if people want to find out more about you, where can they go? What can they do?
So I've got a website which is susiebmusic.com, which I put all my gig dates on and blogs and things. I've also on Twitter, which is @SusieBmusic. SoundCloud as well, soundcloud.com/SusieBmusic. And I have a Facebook page as well, which is Susie B Music. So all under the same name.
Yeah.
So yeah, and hopefully my next EP will be advertised on that as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Day when you picked up the phone, you walked away from home, was the bravest step you had to take, knowing how your heart would break. When you stood up to yourself, you stood up for us all, even though it was killing you. You didn't let yourself fall. 'Cause we all need each other. We all need each other in times like these. In times like these. You won't feel like you've won or that justice has been done, 'cause you have a heart of gold, no matter how many times you're told. Because you're beautiful, because you're beautiful. Earth, we're all worth place on this earth. You are stronger than you know, and from this pain you'll grow, 'cause all things pass. This darkness will not last, 'cause we all need each other. We all need each other in times like these, in times like these. Because you're